What's up? It's Dominic D'Angelo. I'm of Studio1Sports.com, and I am live, Trace Brewing here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Bloomfield, Little Italy, my neighborhood, as a matter of fact. And I am by myself today, flying solo. Robert has some things to do, and so you're stuck with me. But it's a Wednesday, and you know what that means. We gotta say hi to some folks in the chat. So let's say hi to some folks in the chat. Triple E says, "What's up?" One of Breeze says, "Hello, R&I. Good news. I got out of work earlier. Bad news is because I got a strained muscle in my left shoulder. Ooh, you know what, Jeff Hanger, my left shoulder always kind of bugs me too. So hopefully you're feeling all right. Shoulder injuries. It's so crazy how like easy that can happen and how like I don't want to say how delicate, but how sensitive your shoulders are. Like if you ever try to do like the lat weights or whatever, I don't know what it's called. It's harder to do. Like 10 pounds, you really feel it in your shoulders. So hopefully you're all right. Wrestling Old Ed says, "Good after morning, all who had a Vince Russo and Tony Khan buddy cop movie on their 2026 bingo card." We are talking about that for sure today. Thought that was pretty fascinating. Willie Thornbrew says, "Anything exciting in the world of wrestling happening today?" We got a little bit of dynamite. I haven't really checked the dirt sheets either. I was just going on the thing like, oh, I'm going to talk to Tony Khan, Vince Russo interview. Yeah, I'm going to talk AEW. But maybe I got to check the dirt sheets to see what's developing. I know we haven't talked about the Triple H, Nick Khan, Vince McMahon text exchange stuff. I haven't really gotten to really get into weeds with that, so I don't really want to weigh in too much on it. But I think it's kind of what we were expecting. In text exchanges, perhaps, if that makes sense, because it's just like, all right, Vince is on the outs. Probably Triple H, you would assume, was frustrated with Vince's creative direction. So, is this a surprise? I'm not really that surprised, by any of that. So, uh, Braylon says, "Hello, R&I. Is it true that Ray wants his son to retire him and not didn't want Gunther to do it?" Don't know. I have no clue on any of that. Not sure. Don't know where that report may be coming from, but hey, we got some fun stuff to talk about today. Let's talk about that Tony Khan, Vince Russo, Jonathan Coachman conversation. It's getting a lot of buzz, obviously, as you'd expect online. Some people panning it, some people kind of appreciating it, I think. Um, I will say this: I listened to a good chunk of it. I listened to a good chunk of it, and what I thought was questions were, I thought, pretty fair that were asked to Tony. And I do think it echoed a lot of the questions that I'd kind of want to ask Tony in the same manner. Not in the same manner. Let me say that. Not in the same manner. I would say in the same realm. Like, these are questions that I kind of always wanted Tony to get to and address. And I think they did a good job at getting to those. Um, I thought Vince Russo was kind of fun and kind of tongue in cheek, having a good time with it, basically. And I think there was an appreciation for what it is. And I think Vince kind of stayed to his brand in a lot of ways of, what he's been kind of talking about on his shows and got to ask those kind of questions. And, um, I think what got a lot of buzz online was about dealing with the media, and I've expressed my thoughts on media scrums and how there is a certain kind of like fanboy element to a lot of it. Sometimes you do get people and personalities that are not um, professional, or don't know the ways to kind of handle themselves, or like get asked the journalistic quote unquote questions. um I think that Tony gave a great answer, and one that is an adaptive answer. And I think it's one that kind of is something that, for better or for worse, people need to kind of accept. Um, I think Tony gave that fair answer about like getting, yes, of course, there's some content creators and stuff like that that are fans, but their following is huge, and it's been more accepting to have fans, I guess, if you will, or people that are not well rounded in the journalistic aspect of things, to be involved in things like that. Because, heck, the more buzz you can get, it's all about getting buzz, it's all about getting attention. And Tony even said, even in the sports realm, that that happens. And, even I, myself, have to take a step back and understand that that's how times are. And that's how the landscape is changing and has changed already. So if you're kind of feeling that way about it, like we're all like if you're used to wanting to have the journalistic quote unquote integrity of it all and professionalism, you are a little behind already. You have to just kind of accept that this is the way things are going. I will say this too. A lot of the times you'll hear journalists ask worse questions, like horrible questions. Like, oh my God, you think about like some of the, even in a sports setting, professional sports setting, there's just, what the hell is this person thinking asking that kind of question? It's so stupid, pointless. Where are you going with this? Um, Let me say this. So while I did enjoy like the Russo aspect of things, and I thought it was fine, and what are you expecting when you go on a thing with Russo? Like he's gonna ask these types of questions, and I think Tony had some fun with it, and I think Vince did too. As far as Coachman goes, um, like I think that his agenda was heavy-handed. I also think that what he did to Tony Khan was borderline unprofessional. Um, I think starting off the show by telling him to look into the camera, hey, move over here. I think it's okay maybe to do like in a little bit, like, hey, can you look over here a little bit? But how he did it not once, but he did it twice. And if you've ever been on these video calls and things like that, maybe tell him to do that before you record. And then on top of it, too, you how he pitched it and how he handled himself, I thought was like so self-serving. Like, oh, Tony, like it's one thing if you have an objective to maybe like, oh, I hope Tony learns from what I'm talking about. Like, and in a certain way of an interview, you can direct and kind of, I don't want to say manipulate, but certainly there's everybody manipulates in social interactions. Whether you're dealing with a little kid, you're manipulating a little kid when you're talking to a little kid, or you're talking to anybody because you have something in mind. So it's fine if you were like, oh, I really hope Tony learns from what this is. And a lot of the times when I'm thinking about asking questions to people and I have different views on things, yeah, I'll angle it. But then Coachman is just like, listen, Tony, you're going to learn a lot from this. And we're hoping this is going to be so rewarding for you and everything like that. How do you expect to get through to anybody if you're talking down to them? This felt more like Jonathan Coachman trying to get himself over. And like, I don't know Coach from Sunday, but I do know like, okay, he played a role. Sure, he's been on ESPN and like he's got a resume. Like, there's no denying that. And I enjoyed him on ESPN, to be honest. I enjoyed him in WWE when he was there. But like, to put yourself in that position of like, you're gonna learn from me. Okay, this is gonna be an education for you, Tony, and I hope you're gonna do it. And it wasn't like in this way where it's just like kind of like Vince, I think, did want Tony to learn from him in certain ways, but he also understood that like I'm Vince Russo, and this is how I present myself. Coachman, I think he did not. I just thought it was very off putting, and I was just like, dude, like that would be like me being on here, Tony Khan. Look, Tony Khan. All right, I've worked with so many people in wrestling. I have a journalism degree. You are gonna learn from me, okay? You're gonna learn from Dominic D'Angelo, or that'd be like Robert even being like, "I'm a W writer, Tony. I can't wait for you to learn from." Me. And maybe like obviously, I think Tony Khan could learn from somebody like Robert. I think he could, but Robert wouldn't tell him that. Robert wouldn't like talk down to him in that regard. I think it was very unbecoming, and I thought he took away from the moment that Vince, Tony, and even Coach could have had. Let's take a look at some of your quotes in the chat here. We got a lot of cool comments going on here. Here we go. Wrestling Old Head says Coachman started off hot, but they didn't keep that pace throughout the show, which I feel was good. They didn't go easy on him, but they had a few questions that changed Tony Khan's smile a few times. Yeah, I mean, I thought, like I said, I thought a lot of the questions that were asked were fair, and I think questions that I think a lot of the fans did want to know, and I thought that was on point. You know, Wrestling World says, imagine if Russo actually gets to use Britt Baker and JCW like he has. Well, listen, I really hope that there comes a crossover between these two, and like there's an understanding and a collaboration. I think in today's world, I think it's good to have that in today's wrestling world too. And I mean in society in general. Like you interview people, you have a willingness to go on their shows. What was just happened? I think it was in the sports realm. Oh yes. Um, so I don't agree with Jason Whitlock, the sports commentator, on so many things. I think sometimes he has some good sports takes in general, but I do not agree with him like on his viewpoints on things. I think when he says stuff, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, man? Like, and this is outside of sports. And but Cam Newton had him, and they had a conversation, and like, and both have kind of been button heads with one another beforehand, but when they got on together, it was a good conversation. I think that can happen in a lot of ways, but and then Cam has gotten a lot of flack for having Whitlock on because Jason Whitlock is such a polarizing person in the sports media world. So, like, I think these kind of discourse is great. I really do. Um, Ribshot, congratulations to Ribshot, by the way. Follow them on YouTube. They reached 50,000 subscribers, and they do a lot of fun stuff. Some of it's with the RVD podcast, but they do so much other audio, cartoons and stuff like that. You have to check them out. So, shout out to Ribshot here. They do great work. Great work. And they say that interview was surreal to watch. It sure was. It sure was. I almost wish from a visual standpoint that Vince was a little bit more prominent because I think from that, I understand Tony Khan's the main subject and stuff like that, but I would have made it like more even balanced on the visuals and stuff like that. Small little nitpick thing, but it was very surreal to see all that. Wrestling Old Head says, I watched a few episodes of JCW. It's not the worst wrestling program I've seen, but the roster is not the best. I think the presentation and the style and the some of the content though is really really good. Like it is entertaining. I mean, I love Big Vito. I think he's so funny, and I think and how things are set up, I think are really well done. And I think Tony Khan mentioned that in the interview too, and kind of praised Vince for that stuff. Um, so yes. So this is Wrestling World. It says it here. Coachman was big leaguing Tony Khan at the beginning there. Go back and watch Khan's face change. LOL. Exactly. Exactly. First impressions are a big deal. And if you're interacting with Tony Khan, he's willing to go on your freaking show and you're talking down to him like, hey, look into the camera over here. Do this. And, oh, you're going to learn so much from me. Dude, come on. Come on. I thought, I've never seen anybody do that. Anybody like talk down to somebody who's one of the biggest names in wrestling right now. He's willing to go on your program, and you are directing him how to look into a camera. Even, dude, who cares? Like, who cares? One thing, do it before the show, like I said. Do it before he gets on. Or even that, like, if you do it once, I can understand it. I can understand it and do it in a manner that is good. But, like, he did it twice. This was, it made me wonder about, like, Coachman. Is like, how secure in himself is he to kind of be talking in this manner? Because, like, does he think, like, I think some of his opinions are good. And like I said, I think the questions he asked were good. But, like, dude, like, who cares? Like, treat a guest like that, like, a little bit with a little more respect. I thought it was I really did think it was off-putting. Wrestling Old, it says Coachman did the Charleston for The Rock. That's one thing I remember from his day. Right. Maybe that's sticking with him, and he can't shake it. He can't shake it, and he looks at himself as a size. I don't know. I'm not listen, I'm not gonna assume anything, but what I did think was like when people act like that and they're like, "This is gonna be so rewarding for you," it's like, dude, either you have an ego about you that you cannot escape, or you're insecure in yourself, or maybe a little bit of both. Um, Wrestling Gold that says, "I also got told I look like a mix of Jonathan Coachman and Keegan Michael Key. I can't shake it." Boy, Wrestling Gold, I might need to see a picture of you now at this spot. Oh, so Hubbard. Okay, here we go. So Hubbard report says it was TK's best interview. Look, I thought, like I said, the content on there was questions that I've wanted to been asking Tony Khan and kind of asked Tony Khan when I can at media calls and stuff like that. But it's like, and like I've voiced my opinion on the media scrums, but I also understand that, like I said, times are they are changing, and I think there is a avenue for certain type of fans or content creators to kind of be on these shows or scrums, media scrums, and ask questions. I mean, and on top of it too, it is pro wrestling. Like Tony Khan does not have to do the media scrums. He does not, and he decides to do it. And so hats off to him. And dude, hats off to Tony Khan for having the cojones to just go on and do a show like that and be willing to sit down. I think I think it's a like it's a commendable uh move to make. Like some of the stuff going on there could be detrimental to what you're doing or the brand you're kind of doing. But I think communication is key, and I think there's a certain level of understanding and respect for that. Cami Star, welcome aboard. She says late after morning all to all my favorites, R and I pals. Thanks for tuning in, KMA. Um, Speaking of RVD, is he going to be live on Rumor and Innuendo since he will be in town? That's a great question. I don't know when Rob's arriving in Pittsburgh. He's going to be at Steel City Con, which is in Monroeville, so it's south of the city. So I don't know exactly where he's going to be at. I'm hoping me and him can at least line up and hang out, but we'll see. Ripshot, The Undertaker, Paul Bearer, Car Red was really good. Oh, okay. So he talked about one of the clips that he did. I have to check that out. Let's check. Jeff Hanger says, from what I've seen from Coach online clips, he has more and more hot takes. I mean, some of the takes that I've seen on there, I'm like, I get what he's saying. I get what he's saying, but like, I mean, like how he handled himself on there, I thought was borderline unprofessional. I really did. Tony is a parody. He's not a parody. I think Vince Russo said it pretty well that Tony's just a very nice guy, and like from all accounts, he is a nice guy. And but and from my interaction with him too, he's a nice dude. But like, you know, is it conducive to running a pro wrestling company where people are cutthroat and you know uh, selfish and I don't know, like yeah, that kind of whole mentality. That's definitely not the type of person to usually be at that position, but he is. And so and I think the questions that got asked kind of you know were needed and I think good. So um, the Nevers 5512 says after morning, don't sleep on Callum Newman from the new Prince of New Japan Pro Wrestling. The new Prince of New Japan Wrestling Pro Wrestling. I'm not familiar with Callum. I keep hearing his name, so I'll have to check him out. Draymond says, I guess I should look up this interview after Dynamite. I know we'll get to cover Dynamite here too. Wrestling is a spot on, Dom. Thank you. He says it's a must watch to Dre, so check it out. The most intriguing aspect of wrestling right now is the Ospreay Callum Newman potential feud match of the year. If you watch New Japan, you know. Here's the thing: the Nevers, a lot of people watch New Japan, and I think, when I look at how New Japan's collaboration with AEW has been, I don't think it's been that great on the New Japan side. Like, you think about Takeshita, you think about Kyle Fletcher. You do think about Ospreay obviously going over there to AEW. He feels like a real big deal. But I think some of these guys, I don't know. I don't think it behooves New Japan to get involved because it doesn't. I mean, ultimately, your stars go there, and then what does that mean for New Japan? I think what New Japan might need to focus on is building a roster that is stuff that can get notoriety and everything like that. So there we go. Russ Golden says the R&I RVD collab is what we need. That'd be pretty neat to get Rob on. The guy says he can be a joke of a boss just like Dixie. Um, like there's, I mean, I think like Dixie, it's not her world from pro wrestling. Like when she got involved, and like I do think, decisions are made that were not great, right? And like you adhere to the stars, and then you listen to them or you get the opinions. But again, you take any look at any wrestling promoter, from Vince McMahon to Tony Khan to Triple H to Dixie Carter, did I say her? To anybody across the board, TNA curling. You're not going to agree with what they do. Like, hey, if I were this person, I would do this differently. I would do that differently. And like, believe me, I have plenty of like criticisms for AEW, plenty of criticisms for WWE, plenty of criticisms for a lot of pro wrestling. I would run so much differently. Previous companies I used to work for, I'd run differently. But you know, I think to say that what did he say? What was the quote here? He said, trying to figure it out. He can be a joke of a boss. I don't know about that. I just don't think he handles things ultimately in the right manner sometimes. You know, like I think there's certain corrections that he can make, but I mean that's with all of us. And if you're the boss, you're the boss. You make the final decision. So it's really up to you to be like realize, okay, I could be doing this differently and pivot from it. Wrestling said it seemed really one-sided. Dom, the optics don't look like a partnership. It looks like New Japan were pillaged. Exactly, that's what it really felt like with New Japan. So I mean, yeah, we could have that dream match of Callum Newman and Osprey, but I don't know. I think Newman, like I said, I'm new to him, so I don't know him. I would really build up your own resume and make yourself feel like a big deal in New Japan before doing anything else. Because once you go over there to AEW, even in a crossover, you're gonna get washed out. Draylon says, not gonna lie, TNA between 2005 to 2015 was pretty fire. Maybe there were some exciting moments, I would say. I don't know how old you are, Dre, but and maybe that kind of plays into it a little bit. But like it was, there were some moments. I got excited when 2010 rolled around. It felt like kind of like almost a new quote unquote Monday Night Wars, and like you had big stars come into play. But I was also excited like for younger talent too, like Machine Guns, AJ Styles, and Joe. So there were moments. I do think they had so many missteps that didn't make it pretty fire. But again, if you grew up in a certain time, that probably was pretty exciting. I thought more so like, I mean, I thought the same thing with the NWO angle, even when it was on the down because I was 13 and I was like, yeah, I'm loving this. But it was like 1998 and things were kind of falling apart at that point for the NWO. Like, but I was right in the thick of it still. So but Ruscolda does say it was really good. They were seemingly nervous about giving the younger talent the ball. If they did, TNA might have been huge by now. Yeah, exactly. That was a huge. That's a great point. Wrestling Golden makes. Is that? Um, oh yeah, the pounce. Monty Brown, my favorite finisher, followed by the OG Canadian Destroyer. Petey Williams, baby, shout out. Kind of. Was that when he was Hulk Hogan's like surrogate? Oh, okay. So You grew up with the new generation in the end. Okay, so you are about probably around the same age as I am. So yeah, maybe just have different viewpoints on certain things. I wouldn't say it was fire. I would say they had good moments. So hey, speaking of good moments, are we gonna have some good moments tonight on you know what? AEW Dynamite.
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it.
Are we? Let's take a look. I have no idea what the card is. I have no idea. No clue what's going on. Let's take a look. Shoot from the hip here. All right, so we have a trios match. Andrade El Idolo teaming up with Mark Davis and Konosuke Takeshita. Take on Darby Allin, Bandito, and Jungle Jack Perry. Bit of a hodgepodge on the trios side, the babyface trios side. Um, yeah, what does everybody have to do with one another here? Or unless I'm missing something. But I guess Bandito wrestled Andrade. You know, didn't did Mark Davis get involved with Darby? I can't remember. And then I mean, okay, Perry and whatever. I mean, okay, should be kind of a fun match. I loved Bandito. I love Bandito. Um, we also have Willow Nightingale, TBS Championship on the line against Queen Aminata. All right, why is Aminata getting this title shot? Did I miss something on Collision? I love Aminata. I think she's awesome, but like I haven't seen her in forever. Like, just throw her there. Fodder. It's again. This is like kind of the thing I take exception with when it comes to AEW's booking. You put people there, and they just show up, and they feel like fodder for your champions. It's one thing too if you necessarily make it a clear cut jobber match, but Queen Manamana has like a higher ceiling than what she's been presented as. So like when you just throw her out there and she just loses, it doesn't help. Oh, thank you, thank you. That's right. That's right. Dre Owen says Brody King is out for tonight. Bandito was a replacement. Yes, that's right. Thank you for correcting that. And so did Russell did that too. Um, Dre Owen says open challenge for Aminata. Plus, she's coming off a neck injury. Is that they doing an open challenge? I guess yeah, Willow implemented an open challenge. I guess. I mean, sure. I hope they present Aminata right. Yeah. Okay. If she was injured, it makes a little bit more sense. But it's like try to make sense of it. I hope they do. Okay. Other matches. Kenny Omega speaks live. Okay. He'll have some things to say about MJF, I'm sure. MJF will have to say some things about him. Oh, okay. Chris Jericho will address his return live, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with him moving forward. Look, people pan that Jericho return, but he looked great. You know, I think you can definitely find something for him. I mean, he's done everything in AEW, but I mean, put him with the newer talent, and then you have to make it more of a focus on getting that younger talent over with him. I think Robert's one criticism of Jericho that I do not agree with is that nobody got over because of Chris Jericho. And if you look at it from the grand scheme of it all, yes, like that kind of happened, but it wasn't because of Jericho. I think it was because there was no follow through with what happened after the fact, and that could have been at the hands of the own person. Like you think you hear about some stuff about like Sammy Guevara and him kind of shooting himself in the foot and stuff like that, but I don't think the onus is on Jericho. It's the follow through. Okay, Jericho has something with him. He sets them up. Here we go. What are we gonna do with the action on Andretti? What are we gonna do with Big Bill? What are we gonna do with you name it, like some other talents he's worked with and stuff like that? I don't think that's Jericho's fault. Wrestling Old Head says, Dom, who do you think Jericho should work with? Now, this is going to be kind of a polarizing take. I would put him with Will Ospreay. And I know Ospreay's, who's he feuding with? Moxley? Okay. Over the international title? Okay. I mean, I think you can get to that. But like, and I think that's great for Dynasty or whatever. You know, if you want the international title feel like a big deal, I just think they should get rid of some titles. To be honest, but I want to see how Osprey does with somebody like Jericho. Like Osprey's at the top of his game. Jericho is a veteran, and sure is not as athletic and can do the same stuff that he does, but he can still capable of telling a story. People will poo poo on all that, but I mean, Jericho's such a headline name. Pairing him with Osprey, I think just helps the resume and the career. Uh, what term am I looking for? The career backlog of resume of what Osprey has done. Oh, Osprey's work with Jericho? That's cool. Like I think it's a neat moment in time. If Jericho looks the part, can he wrestle the part? Is the question. But I think he can because Jericho's a veteran and he's capable of understanding what his limitations are. And then Osprey is very, very talented. So I would like to see something between Osprey and Jericho. Wrestling said Osprey and Jericho could be good. I also think Jericho should, yeah, Jericho and Swerve. Like if you put Jericho in that babyface role, I think people are gonna tend to want to cheer. Maybe if you get it right, Jericho could be tended to be cheered for. I think it's gonna be tough. I think because the AEW fan base is pretty uh divisive or fickle when it comes to Jericho. So it would be some tough sledding, maybe, but maybe you can make it work. And Jericho, I'm just intrigued to see if Jericho kind of reinvents himself again here. Adriano says Jericho versus Swerve could be, yeah, could be. All right, am I missing anything on the dirt sheets here? So that's Dynamite. Should be interesting to kind of look and see what happens. See if I covered everything with Dynamite, by the way. Sorry if you're hearing that. I'm at a coffee shop. All right, let's take a look. Dynasty. Oh, that's the Dynasty preview. I want to look at Dynamite here. AW Dynamite. It's courtesy of SEScoops.com, which we're live on X right now. It will let go. All right, nailed it. Jericho dresses return. Okay, Road to Dynasty. So no, we covered everything. All right, good. Yeah, give me your thoughts too. What you think about Coachman, Vince Russo, Tony Khan interview. I think, like I said, I think I thought the good questions were asked. I don't think Coach handled himself very well professionally, and I think it took away a little bit of the energy, the positive energy, and maybe the productiveness of what a conversation like that could be from. It made what they were trying to do. It was contradictory to what they were aiming to do. All right, we'll close out. Oh, God. Jericho joins the ops. No, I would not put Jericho in a faction anymore at this point. Maybe he has a friend, but I would not have him in a faction anymore. I'd make it. I want to put the focus on Chris. I think. Wrestling Leather said that's a good point, Tom. I forgot the fans have not been happy with Jericho at all. He's going to have quite a hill to climb to get over. Yes, that's the one thing I would think about. The guy 1233. I was just on Fightful. A bunch of bitter people have idiot of a boss. Tony Khan ass kisses. They're like, don't give me that when I say Russo has done way more than Khan for the business. They were like, don't. So you were in the chat and you said this to the Fightful people. So I'll be transparent. I'm friends with Sean Ross Sapp. I know he's another polarizing individual too. You know, in the social media world and stuff. But like, Sean does a good job at covering what he does, and he's, I think he is. I mean, he's the top of the ladder here. I mean, like you think about what gets reported, everything like that. People go to Fightful, people go to Sean Ross Sapp, and when you're up that top, people are gonna take some shots at you, and that's kind of the name of the game, especially on social media. But so if you're in the chat saying some stuff, hey, like, look, I think Russo is kind of underrated in what he's delivered to wrestling and what he's kind of shown, and I think you're seeing some of that too on JCW. That like, yeah, I think there's space for Russo in pro wrestling right now still. I think there's a matter if, and that's why I was kind of excited. Like you can get a good collaboration if Tony Khan's willing to open up the doors and great understanding. If you were to have this kind of collaboration, I think could be kind of beneficial for parties because JCW is such a unique thing. It's very off the wall. So if you were to implement that into your AEW product in certain manners and maybe have a little bit of crossover, I think there's completely nothing. Well, imagine, hey, JCW, why don't you take the Dark Order and have some fun with them? The Dark Order, who we don't see on AEW television. Take them, have some fun with them. I think that would work, right? And Jonathan Silver, I think you'd be a blast on there. You could have some fun stuff on. And you know what? It's another way to reach people. It's another way. You think about people tuning in on TBS. People, I mean, when they tune in the Collision, they tune in the Collision. But you have people tuning on YouTube. Hey, AEW people, that's pretty cool. So, I mean, yeah, but I mean, back to your point, the guy 1 2 3 3. Yeah, Sean Rossap and Vince Russo do not have a good relationship. So, yeah, I think they're not going to just see eye to eye on things, and there's going to be opinions had, no doubt about it. So, that's just kind of part of it, I think. Oh, I know the show, Into the Weeds. In the Weeds, yes. I don't know who's on the show typically. I know Sean hosts it from time to time. Jeremy Lambert's another name, I think. But I think they have a rotating group of guests maybe on there too. But I know they go on there. The guy has some opinions here on Sean. They sniped at me, saying, "Don't give me that." They took it personally about the comment about it. So, yeah, I can't speak to any of that. I just don't know, but you know, yeah, I mean, like Sean and Ross Sapp and Vince Russo have a history of one another, and it's not a positive one. So, I mean, they're gonna feel a certain way about one another for sure. I could just say that. So, that's part of it. Wrestling Gold says JCW Yuka backstage segment character development is refreshing. Some may consider it a rehash of old times, but big companies hardly do it these days, so it feels fresh to an extent. Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think, yeah, there might be a little bit of a nostalgia itch going on there that's getting scratched, but at the same time, I do think there's a certain way that makes entertainment is entertainment. And people go into pro wrestling because, wow, this is kind of cool and entertaining. And if you do it in a great manner, what gets over is personalities, characters, storytelling. And I think what JCW has specialized in is those segments and things like that. So I think if you can find the perfect blend of getting talent in there and having creative stuff, like, I mean, I saw this clip of, it was Russo, it was Big Vito, and it was Ken Anderson. And it was one of the funniest segments I've seen on any wrestling program in a while. Because Big Vito's calling Ken Anderson a jerk off and like saying other stuff about him and Bruce Pritchard, and like Vince is kind of just standing there playing the straight man for the most part, I think, and I thought it was pretty entertaining. So, all right. Wrestling Audit says people clamoring for more stories in wrestling should give GCW a try. They might not have the talent of the companies, but the stories are there. That's it. I said this too. RVD and I had Vince Russo and Violent J on a couple months ago, and they both said it. Just give it a couple weeks. Give it 2 weeks. If you don't like it, don't tune back in. But give it 2 weeks and see what you think about it. Connor Conager, 82. Conager, 82. AEW's forced on themselves, which is best. Talking about another company is just a loser / crying approach. No, I don't agree with that. If I'm understanding what you're saying, AEW's forced on themselves, which is best. Talking about another company. Oh, you saying taking shots at other companies? Is that what you're saying? I think there's a little give and take with that. I think if you do it too much, yes, I think it is not a good approach to have. But I think if you pick and choose your moments and you do it with confidence and do it with the right stars. Okay, so that's what you were saying, that they're taking shots. Um, yeah, so I think pick and choose your moments and you do it with your stars and your stars say it and it resonates with the majority of your wrestling fan base. And I don't have a problem with it. But I do have a problem if you go to that well too much because it does make you feel like, oh, you're really trying. You're really trying. And it's not good. So cool. All right. That'll do it for me. Want to make a little bit of an announcement too. If you're tuning in to any of the YouTube channels, please, please, please start going to studio1sports.com. Just go to that channel instead. Uh, Start creating the group there to hang out and chat. I've heard I kind of check the chat sometimes and stuff like that on YouTube and see like I think maybe people are tuning into the Rumor and Innuendo channel. Listen, I don't have control over that channel anymore, so it doesn't really help us if you're on there chatting. I mean, I love the interaction, so if that's the place you go to, but I would love people to start going over to studio1sports.com because I can kind of more facilitate and create some stuff and it can be more a little bit more communal over there in the grand scheme of it all if you guys go over there. So go to studio1sports.com, like, subscribe, start tuning in live there instead and create the chat over there if you can. Guys, do me a favor and do that because like I said, we're on YouTube as Rumor and Innuendo. Don't have control over that channel, don't know how to get control of that channel, and I don't know if anybody does know how to get control of that channel. So do me that favor if you can. I'll try to start saying that a little bit more too on here. Let's take a look real quick. In the Fightful chat was so toxic, also about opinions, my opinions, and said go yell at Clouds. Claimed I was old, which I found funny because I'm 21. People take opinions too seriously at IWC. Hey, that's the other thing you got to think about too. I mean, they get a lot of viewers on there, and yeah, you're gonna get a lot of weird opinions, crazy opinions, abrasive opinions when there's such a huge chat going on. And yeah, I mean, like, uh, yeah, I know working with other outlets, not related to wrestling, that like get a wild type of comments and all kinds of comments and stuff like that. And yeah, maybe there's a certain mentality that goes on with that chat, like a group chat. You go in there, they're a new kid in school, and they have their own opinions, and they don't like what you're having to say because you're not part of the group, kind of thing yet, or anything. So I understand that. And yeah, YouTube comments can just be toxic, very toxic. So that is something to do. Have you heard the wrestling soup? Sean was harassing them and challenging them to a fight. Who? Who was he challenging to a fight? Wrestling World says AW could position themselves to call out WWE for leaning on older talent, a la WWF, calling out WCW. Start of the Attitude Era, middle of the new generation. Look at AEW's main event roster in comparison. Conager's got his ticket for Dynasty. Just wanted to throw that out there. All right. Hey, good to know. Good to know. I'll be on the media call potentially tomorrow with Tony Khan. I should have said that. I'm going to be on the media call tomorrow with Tony Khan. So I'm going to ask him something if I get on there. I got to think of, I have a few things in mind. Could ask, you open to collaborating with Juggalo Championship Wrestling? That's not a bad one, right? There's something else I'm going to do. Think about, I don't know. Give me some ideas. Hit me up on social media at X. Awesome. Thank you, Jeff Henninger. Okay, Dom, hopped on the Studio One Sports page. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, definitely. That's going to help us out a lot. If you guys start chatting over there and cultivating more of a fan base on that channel instead, just because that's our big one. And, we're trying to reach a wider audience. So we go on all these other channels. But honestly, I have the most control over studio1sports.com. So we can kind of do some stuff. Ching Chong Chow. Thank you. I like the name of your show. How did you come up with it? That's not my idea. Rumor and Innuendo. This is actually a Bruce Pritchard quote, Rumor and Innuendo, and Robert had the idea to utilize that. So this was Robert's kind of idea that he took from Bruce Pritchard, and Bruce Pritchard was unaware that a show was using that on the network that he's on, that he was unaware that this name was being used for a little bit, and then it came to his realization. Ask him if he would ever do Collision on Thursday. Okay, all right. That's not bad. I would want to ask him, could you get rid of Collision, or could you make Collision more feel more important? But I guess that would be it. Um, question for TK: what was your favorite storyline? That ain't bad. Joey Numbers and Mitch. Jory Numbers and Mitch. I don't know who these people are. Are their names? Oh, thank you, Dre Owens. Just subscribe to Studio One. Thank you, Dre. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, guys, follow the lead there and go to studio1sports.com. Villain, how are you, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. I hope Dark Evolution comes back. I think that was more conducive to what AEW is doing because it familiarized you with the talents that maybe weren't on Dynamite. I have to go out of my way, and I have to have cable, or I have to have HBO Max, I think, to watch Collision. And when I do that for one show, Dynamite, like it's hard for me to go back and do it on Saturday night. So I think you have Elevation, you have Dark, you can present your talent on there and get people familiarized with who they are, make them stay steady, consistent presences on there, and then when needed, put them on Dynamite, and it makes a little bit more sense. And how are the early numbers for AEW TV? I have no idea. Is that that's their new thing, right? The international. I got no clue on that one. But all right, that'll do it for me. She's talking for 48 minutes. Holy cats. No, it's fine. Like, so the guy says, sorry for insulting your friend. I just see a lot of stuff I don't like about him and his posts on the internet. I mean, that's that's what the social media world's kind of like, has been about, for better or for worse. It's like, you know, people present themselves and they say what they want, and people fire back. I mean, I think Sean knows the game, the name of the game, and like he handles it the way he wants to handle it. So that's up to him to do it. I mean, like everybody's entitled to their opinion to feel how they want to feel, stuff like that. I just know that I'm friends with him and I like him as a person, and I think he's got a good heart, and you know, but he'll say what he wants to say, and if he doesn't get along with Vince Russo, and Vince Russo doesn't get along with him, that's their relationship. I'm but and I like both guys. So yeah, yep, yep. All right. Yes, I agree, Jay Owens. ROH needs to be on TV. All right, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go to my shoot job, and I have other work to do. But thank you all for tuning in. If you haven't, like some people have been doing, go to studio1sports.com and hit subscribe, hit like. We got plenty of good stuff on there. The Santana interview is up on that channel. We got maybe some more interviews coming here, maybe even tomorrow, and then Bret Hart interview. My Bret Hart interview is up there. Full Bret Hart interview along with clips are up there. So check that out. More content to come. But thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you next time here on Rumor and Innuendo. Best of luck in your future endeavors. And bro, be a pro. Shh.